I am making a rocket deck profile. I've gotten a couple of the new cards for this deck from Ghost from the Past 2, so I figured might as well make a new unupdated deck profile on Rocket. Now, this is a pure version of the deck, so it's not Dragon Link in any way. So if it seems bad, that's probably why. Anyway, starting off with the monsters, I play the one copy of Rocket Synchron. This card's only in the deck so that you can, when it's normal summon, you can target a level 5 or higher Dark Dragon in your grave and special summon it. So you have this target level 7, you bring it back, and then you Synchro Summon for Borload Savage Dragon. Or you can bring back a level 8 Savage Dragon, and then you can Synchro Summon for Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. And then I play one copy of Auto Rocket Dragon. Auto Rocket's in this deck because of how it's non-targeting removal for your opponent's spells and traps. But if it's targeted by a Link monster, it gets to self-destruct and then send one of your opponent's spells and traps to the graveyard. And then all of the Rocket Dragons share the effect of during the end phase if it was destroyed, you can special summon another Rocket monster from your deck with a different name. But I specify the Dragon part because it's Auto Rocket, but Rocket Synchron, Rocket Caliber, and Rocket Tracer do not have that effect. Speaking of which, I then play 3 copies of Rocket Tracer. Rocket Tracer has the quick effect of being able to target one face-up card on your side of the field, destroy it, and if you do, special summon a Rocket monster from your deck. Then I play 3 copies of Rocket Caliber. Rocket Caliber is a free summon from your hand if you control a Dark Link monster, but you have to summon it to a zone that card points to. And then you contribute it to then special summon a level. It has to be level 5 or higher. You can trade it, special summon a Dark Dragon or Machine monster from your hand other than another copy of Caliber, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Which I play 3 Caliber because I do play 3 monsters that can be summoned off of its effect. Or technically 4. Then I play 3 copies of Magna Rocket Dragon. Magna Rocket Dragon has the effect if it's targeted by a Link monster, it self-destructs. And then it has to take one of your opponent's monsters with it. So it's non-targeting removal that then flows into another rocket during the end phase. Then I play 2 copies of Silver Rocket Dragon. When this card is just targeted by a Link monster, it self-destructs, looks at your opponent's extra deck, and sends. I don't remember if it sends a monster from your opponent's extra deck or banishes. Okay, you look at your opponent's extra deck and then banish one card from it. So if I'm going first, I'll typically want to summon summon this card after I made a Quad Boral. Have a Quad Boral target Silver Rocket, look at my opponent's extra deck to get rid of an extra deck monster I don't like, such as Destroy Your Phoenix Enforcer, since every deck seems to be playing that. Then I play 3 copies of Router Dragon. Router can be special summoned from your hand once per turn while you control a rocket monster. And then if Router is sent to the graveyard by any means, then once per turn you can search for a rocket monster from your deck. Then I play 3 copies of Noctivision Dragon. Noctivision has the effect of if a Dark Dragon monster is special summoned to your field, then you can special summon this card from your hand. So if you Link summon, you can then go use this to chain block, so you can summon Striker Dragon, chain 1, chain 2, this card to summon itself. And then if it's sent to the graveyard as Link material, you have to draw 1 card. But it has the effect of when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-down card or cards you control. Quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate that effect, and also your opponent cannot target that face-down card or card with card effects for the rest of the turn. Then you only use each of its other effects once per turn. Then I play the 1 copy Explode Rocket. Explode Rocket I only like in this deck because it's a level 7 Rocket Dragon. But also the effect that if it's targeted by a Link monster, it self-destructs and then inflicts 2,000 points of damage to both players. So if I can get my opponent to have 2,000 less life points, then I can just target this with one of the Boral monsters, Link monsters, and then just burn my opponent. Or if I know I can't beat my opponent, but both of our life points are below 2,000, I'll use this to draw. Then I play 1 copy of Outburst Dragon and 2 copies of Cracking Dragon. Cracking Dragon's in this deck because of how I actually really did like playing this card. Where when it was released, I was actually first playing Cracking Dragon in Monarch because it being a level 8 that normally be tribute summoned, and that still got the benefits of the Monarch deck with being tribute summoned. But as the effect of it can't be destroyed in battle with a monster with an equal or lower level, when your opponent normal or special summons exactly 1 monster and no other monsters are summoned, while this monster is on the field, you can make that monster lose attack equal to its defense, and then deal your opponent damage equal to the attack lost. So your opponent summons something like Mystical Elf, for example, it'll only lose 800 attack points, and since it only lost 800, your opponent will take 800. But if your opponent summons something like Blue Eyes White Dragon, then it'll lose 2,500 attack, and then your opponent takes 2,500 damage. And then Outburst Dragon, if you control a monster, you can summon itself, but then it destroys. You don't remember if it's every other monster or just the opponent's monsters? Okay, you can summon it, but then it destroys all other monsters you control. And you cannot special summon monsters except for dark monsters while this card's in the face-up monster zone. And then once per chain during your opponent's main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, you can link summon 1 dragon linked monster using monsters you control, including this card. But this card's in this deck because if I need to, I can destroy a bunch of the rokket dragons I control, end phase, summon multiple more, and then during my opponent's turn I can use this card's effect to make it some kind of Boral monster. But I would prefer summoning this off of Rocket Caliber, which is why these 3 are... The Cracking Dragons are on the deck as well, because Rocket Caliber can actually summon Cracking Dragon. And then finishing off the 1-of monsters, I play 1 copy of Red-Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon and 1 Borreload Riot Dragon. I want to play 2 more Riot Dragon, but I only have the 1, so for now the 1 will have to do. But Red-Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon has the once per turn effect of being able to special summon 1 dragon from your hand or graveyard. And then you can banish a dragon you control, special summon it from your hand. But that is... And then Riot Dragon has the quick effect of when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can negate the summon. If you do, destroy it. And then you can destroy 1 card or 1 rocket monster you control. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 Boral or rocket monster in your graveyard, destroy 1 card you control in your hand, and if you do, add that target to your hand. So while it's in the grave, it lets you recur your resources, but while in the field, being able to negate your opponent's special summons from the extra deck. Moving on to the spells, I play the 1 copy of Called by the Grave, deal with hand traps. 1 copy of Heavy Interlock so that I can ritual summon Borreload Riot Dragon by destroying rocket monsters I control or my hand. And then Heavy Interlock also makes it so that Riot Dragon cannot be destroyed in battle or affected by the effects of the monster summoned from the extra deck. Then I play 2 copies of Squib Draw. This just lets me target 1 rocket I control and destroy it, and if I do, I get to draw 2 cards. I can only activate 1 Squib Draw per turn, though. Then I play 2 copies of Rapid Trigger. Rapid Trigger lets me destroy 2 rocket monsters I control in order to fusion summon. And then a monster summoned off of Rapid Trigger is unaffected by the effects of monsters from the extra deck. Then I play 2 copies of Boot Sector Launch. Boot Sector Launch has 2 effects, of which you can use 1 of those 2 effects per turn, which is either summon 2 rockets from your hand, or if your opponent has more monsters than you do, special summon rocket monsters from your graveyard equal to the difference. So if you have no monsters, but your opponent has 4, then you can summon 4 rockets. Then I play 2 copies of Bayonet Punisher. Bayonet Punisher can use... when activated, it can use all of its effects in the order listed, based on the Boral monsters you control or have in your graveyard. Which, if you have a fusion, you can banish one card your opponent controls. Synchro, banish 3 random face down, or banish three random face down cards from your opponent's extra deck face up. XZs, banish 1 spell or trap your opponent controls, and Link, banish up to 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard. The main ones I like with this card is Fusion and Synchro, which are not at all hard to do in this deck, because with the normal opening boards this deck has, you either make a Fusion or a Synchro, sometimes both. Then I play 2 copies of Dragon's Mirror. This card just lets you banish monsters from your graveyard in order to fusion summon a dragon monster. Then I play 2 copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. This is just using the deck to bring back a level 4 or lower dragon from your graveyard. And once per turn, you can move a dragon monster you control to a different zone. So if you have a Borload in the extra monster zone, but you want it in the main monster zone, you can just move it to one of the main monster zones. Then to finish off the deck, I play 3 copies of Quick Launch. Quick Launch just lets you special summon a level 4 lower rocket from your deck. But then it gets destroyed during the end phase, which is fine, because it normally doesn't get to the end phase anyway. But one of the best things to do if you see multiples of these with Rocket Tracer is normal summon Rocket Tracer. Activate all your Quick Launches in succession to each other, and then chain the Rocket Tracer targeting a Quick Launch. I've actually opened all 3 Quick Launches with Tracer, and that was the greatest feeling until my opponent then goes Nibiru, which is not one of the greatest feelings, because I only have 1 card in hand, while also having to deal with a Nibiru. But that is it for my Rocket main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Whoops. Play 1 copy of Striker Dragon. This card can, when Link Summon, lets you search for Boot Sector Launch. And then once per turn, you can target 1 face-up monster you control and 1 rocket in your graveyard. Destroy that targeted monster, and then add that rocket to your hand. Then I play 3 copies of Quad Boral Dragon. Quad Boral Dragon has the effect of, you can discard 1 card, target 1, I believe it has to be, and target 1 monster on the field. You can also special summon Link 2 or lower from your extra deck for the rest of the turn after you use this effect, but then you get to destroy that targeted monster. And then if you destroyed a Link monster, you can summon rocket monsters from your graveyard equal to that destroyed monster's Link rating. So typically what I'll do, if I'm going first, I'll summon this, target itself, destroy it, summon the 2 materials. As long as one is a tuner and the other is a non-tuner and their level is equal 8. Summon a Savage Dragon, equip this, Savage gets 2 Boral counters, and then gains 500 attack points. Then I play 1 copy of Boral Code Dragon. I like this card just because it has the effect of it can't be destroyed by card effects while it has a monster pointing to it. So one thing I like to do with it is if I have Bomber Dragon in play, I'll summon Boral Code so that it points to Bomber Dragon. And then Bomber Dragon will destroy every monster in the main zone, or the main monster zones. But due to Boral Code's effect, it doesn't get destroyed. But the main reason I like it is because of the effect of once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card was linked summoned using 3 monsters as material, battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy all monsters on the field. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, banish 1 dark monster with 3,000 more attack from the field, and if you do, especially 1 topologic monster from your extra deck or graveyard. So part of the reason I like this card is just because if your opponent has a Dragoon, it can get rid of the Dragoon, and then summon back your Bomber Dragon, which I then play 1 copy of. And Bomber Dragon has the effect of if a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, then it destroys all monsters in the main monster zone. And then if it destroys a monster in battle, your opponent takes damage equal to that monster's original attack points. Then I play 1 copy of Boral Guard Dragon, Boral Sword Dragon, and Borload Dragon. Beauregard has the effect of it can't be destroyed by card effects. Once per turn, you can target one attack position monster or one defense. I think I had to read the card again, but you target a monster on the field, change its battle position, and your opponent can't respond to it. Let's see. Once per turn, you can send one card from your spawn trap zone to the graveyard, special from either graveyard to your field. One monster is destroyed and sent there this turn, but it negates effects. And then once per turn, quick effect, you target one monster from the field, change it to face-up defense position. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Or that effect's activation. And then Boral Sword, if it battles, it can't be destroyed in battle. But if it battles the monster, then if it attacks a monster, it steals half of that monster's attack points. And then once per turn, you can target one monster on the field and change the defense position. If it does, it gets a second attack. And your opponent can't respond to that effect. And then Borload cannot be targeted by monster effects. And then once per turn, you can target one monster on the field, reduce its attack by 500. Your opponent can't respond to that effect. And if it battles an opponent's monster, before the damage step, you can take control of that opponent's monster and then put it in a zone that it points to. Then I finish off Link monsters to play the one copy of Boral End Dragon. Boral End cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, nor can it be destroyed in battle. Or it can't be targeted by monster effects, I should say. It can still be targeted by spells and traps. But I do really like this card just because it has the protections of Boral Guard, Boral Sword, and Borload. But also its effective, it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And then having the quick effective, you can target one effect monster on the field and one rocket monster in your graveyard. Negate the effects of that monster on the field. If you do, especially summon that other monster from your graveyard. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to that card's effect. You can only use this effect of Boral and Dragon once per turn. I just like it because of how it's a negation effect that your opponent can't respond to. Also being a 3500 attack body. Then for the fusions, I play two copies of Borload Furious Dragon. Furious Dragon has the quick effect of once per turn you target one card on each field, destroy it. Which is the only effect I ever use. It does have a great effect, but I never use it. But the best part of this card, if it's summoned off of Rapid Trigger, then you can have it target itself and one card your opponent controls, destroy them both. But because of Rapid Trigger, Borload Furious Dragon will be unaffected by its own effect. Then I play one copy of 5-Headed Dragon just for damage. And that's why I play Dragon's Mirror in this deck, because you get crap ton of dragons in the grave that can be banished to summon 5-Headed Dragon. Then I play the one Savage Dragon, which can, when it's synchro summoned, activates effect target a synchro in your or a link monster in your graveyard. Equip it with that link monster and it gains Boral counters for its link rating and half its attack. And then Boral counters can be removed once per turn to negate a opponent's card or effect activation. Then I also play the one copy of Borload X Charge Dragon. This card only ever gets summoned in this deck if I can go for game with it, or if I have Bayonet Punisher, because again I do like being able to. What was it? Forget what Bayonet Punisher does with XDs. But I do like it because I can also make this against something like someone playing Mystic Mind. Because then Bayonet Punisher can banish a spell or trap your opponent controls. Well, that's it for my Rokket deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck while also having it remain Rokket and not be Dragon Link, or any other decks I can see me make, or decks I can see face each other, feel free to comment down below. Thanks for watching.